While spending the last week moving most of my stereo and my music collection into this new space, I had a thought. Why am I doing this? Why did I collect all of this? This is dumb. This is silly. I'm never going to listen to all these records. I can only listen to one stereo at a time. Do I need all of these? And then as I started unpacking everything, it became very clear. I'm collecting stories. And I think it might be the same for a lot of you out there as well. Almost every piece you see in this room has a story behind it. This week has definitely been emotional, as a lot of the people or a lot of the memories that I have associated with all of these records and pieces of stereo equipment, several of them are from friends that have passed on. I'd like to share some of these stories with you, especially for some of you out there that maybe just don't understand why we collect vintage equipment. They don't understand why we need 4 receivers and 10 sets of speakers. And I think what they're missing is the story behind each piece, behind these iconic brands. And for a person like me and a lot of you out there, I do think that means something. Having the story, knowing the history, where this piece has lived its life. And as somebody that grew up in the late 70s and the early 80s, I was really shy, really introverted. And this might be a shocker to some people out there, but I still am. I've been that way my whole life. Making friends was not easy. Most of my school life was spent in small rooms with small groups of other kids that had trouble learning almost anything. The only thing I understood was music. You ask me to point a country out on a globe or spell something, I'm out. It's horrible. But if you ask me who produced an album, what band members have changed bands, who played in what, I can tell you almost instantly. We had a jukebox growing up that held 145 RPM records. I can tell you which member of my family bought that record. If somebody else in the family didn't like that song, for some reason, all those little specifics are what's stuck in my head. Let me just share a few of these stories with you, because almost every one of them does have a story behind it. I got the Sansui 929 turntable from a YouTuber named David. His channel is My Own Devices. Definitely go check that one out. The Garrard 301. I got a call from a guy saying he was on his way to the landfill, demoing a house out in the middle of Iowa. He sent me a picture with a pile of electronics in it. And in that picture, I see a corner of the 301. And I said, let me meet you before you get to the landfill. Anyway, I bought the whole truckload for like, I don't know, $100 or something. And that was in it. That was just a lucky deal. And then this is cool. So I got this with the Garrard 301. These were in that truck, that guy I met that was on his way to the landfill. And they are old Pickering. No vintage Pickering tone arms were hurt making this video. I had to bring a light in here. There's no lights in storage units. I don't think they want you living in here. So I've got a battery powered light mounted up there, and it just came crashing down on me. But I had 2 of them. He was an old school mono audiophile. He had a mono FM tuner, a bunch of mono carts. He'd have just one speaker. There was never a pair. They were all in really rough condition because when the guys threw them in the back of the truck, they weren't being careful with them. That's a really neat piece of history right there. And this is actually one of the original Garrard basses. You can tell it's handmade. The manual came with a diagram to cut this shape out so you could fit your Garrard 301 in there. Somebody did a pretty poor job. I'm still hanging on to it because I just think it's cool. I wish he signed it or put his name or date in there, because it's old, you can tell. The Sony CD player and cassette deck are from a good friend of mine that passed away. His name is Trent. He used to own Professional Music here in Des Moines. I spent a lot of time over at his place in his listening room. Just a really cool guy. Really nice house, nice listening room. The dude was so cool that he would come over to my house too, just to listen to music, even though I lived in a dump. He didn't care. He wanted to listen to music. He wanted to talk about music. You know, that was our friendship. I actually keep the last CD that he listened to in the CD player. Go On, Mr. Mister. Not my favorite album, but it's for Trent. If you guys remember back in the day having an intercom system, usually in the kitchen, they might have a radio or a cassette player there. That's what this was. They used an Accuphase E202 for their whole home audio. This was going into a room selector box, and then they had a turntable that you could pull out on a shelf. And I'm excited I got it. Maybe the best sounding intercom whole home system that's ever been installed. The Nautilus 802s are unfortunately a really sad story. One of the technicians that worked at Skylabs in the early days during COVID was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he passed away quickly after his diagnosis. I don't know if a lot of you remember, but during that time, you couldn't go to the hospital. You couldn't say your goodbyes. I never really got to say goodbye to John, but I've got his speakers. I'm actually just hearing his speakers for the first time after owning them for 5 years. I never had the right room for them. So they've just been kind of sitting there waiting for this room, and they sound incredible. I have been anticipating having a nice listening environment for a long time. And what I thought I would do when I first hooked up my stereo, the records I would listen to, is not what happened at all. I ended up spending most of my week listening to reel-to-reels that I picked up along the way that somebody recorded their favorite albums on. It's not the usual recordings you find on reel-to-reels. You know, you have to think these were really expensive. These are metal reels, and they were not cheap. The players were not cheap. So usually when you find reel-to-reels like this, I usually find Pink Floyd, Steely Dan, orchestral music, jazz. And I wish I knew the person that recorded these, because you've got Let There Be Rock, AC/DC, Rush Hemispheres, Quiet Riot, Mental Health, Ozzy Osbourne, Blizzard of Oz. Unfortunately, these recorded at 3 3/4, which isn't the best quality, but that's not the point. I've been listening to these all week. The nice thing, it's kind of like a big Spotify playlist. It plays through one side, it stops, and then it turns around and plays the other direction. And therefore, this reel will play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 albums on repeat all day long. I mean, I love this guy. Rat, Invasion of Your Privacy, Motley Crue, Theater of Pain, Scorpions, Worldwide Live. And what a cool dude. So whoever you are out there, thank you. It's been a lot of fun listening to your mixtapes. And for some collectors out there, they might think of this as a little bit lame, but I actually own records that I have no intention of listening to. If I do, great. But really what they are is a play saver for a memory. I don't want to get rid of them because I have a fear that I'll forget that memory, because every time I see it, I instantly go back to where I was, or I instantly remember the person that showed me that band, or I had an experience around that album. And for that reason, a lot of these records, I don't really keep for their original purpose. It's almost like a photo in a photo book. And I'm just scared to get rid of it because I'm scared of losing that memory. These are my mom's original Elvis records. And I remember at some point I discovered Elvis, and I was really bad on vinyl records. I didn't take care of them, and unfortunately, my mom's records got the brunt of it. They mean more to me sitting up here than they do. You know, they're not worth anything anyway. The very first album I ever bought with my own money. This thing is roached, not playable, no value, can't get rid of it. I remember getting this one for Christmas one year. My grandparents owned a jewelry store, and I remember saying to my grandmother, "Can you make me this necklace next year for Christmas?" And I think she said, "Oh, honey, I don't think we could do that." It's a good thing I didn't show up to school one year after Christmas with that thing around my neck. I would have been in trouble. Dangerous toys. I loved this drawing when I was a sophomore or a junior, something like that in high school. So much so that a buddy of mine and I painted this inside of this room I had to practice drums in. We ended up using it as our senior picture. We reordered these things so many times. This one was supposed to go to somebody named Sarah. Sorry, Sarah, I never got yours to you. It's a really good album, too. If you're into 80s metal, you're sick of Def Leppard and Bon Jovi and the other stuff, that's a hidden gem right there. Unfortunately, Bob passed away in 2000. He's one of several friends that just didn't make it through our partying years, and it's really sad, you know. I miss him. I love these two. These are it's a Capitol Records sampler. They came out with one every month, but I think the covers on them are just incredible. I thought at one point maybe I would put these in frames and hang them up on the wall because I love the artwork so much. My dad had really good taste in music, and this was one of his favorite records. And I cannot listen to Baker Street without thinking about my dad. He used to listen to it over and over. That one and Lion Eyes by the Eagles. Those were his songs. And I can't hear either of them without thinking about him. So this is a great record too. And I'm also a really big collector of the Living Stereo label. And that's what all these are. You know, back in the day of my thrifting, if I saw a Living Stereo record, I just bought it. Got several duplicates. I just thought the logo on the top was so amazing. I think some of these I have like 5 copies of. I think one of them sealed too. I don't remember which one, but oh, it's this one. Yeah. So I guess if I ever get sick of playing these 4, I can break out the brand new one. And for me, it's the same thing with everything. Kiss cards. Yeah, I bought these at a flea market when I was 12, maybe. And it turns out it's missing like 4 cards. I don't care. The first time hearing Guns N' Roses Lies and thinking, what happened? And then this becoming my favorite Guns N' Roses album. Advertising milk glass, especially if it's stereo related and Iowa related. I'm a sucker for this stuff. Willings TV and stereo. Got my Sansui one. The old Nipper salt and pepper shakers. Kiss 8 tracks. This makes me happy. I had a 77 LTD with an 8-track player. Billy Squier Don't Say No lived in that thing. It's the only thing I listened to for like a year. It was the only 8-track I had. Wish I had this one. This is a great album. Living in Portland at the time, a friend of mine works at a radio station. She calls me and she says, Prince just got done playing the Rose Garden. He is going to do an after show down at Roseland Theater. It's like 11:30 at night. I think he went on at midnight. He played till 3 o'clock in the morning, all blues. Most incredible show I've ever seen. I was probably 5 feet away from him. He said 2 things the whole night. He stopped the show at one point and said, okay, everybody get your phones out, take your picture. He made a pose. He's like, I don't want to see any more cell phones. The next time he talked to us, he said, I don't want to hear anybody calling out Purple Rain, When Doves Cry. If you want to hear those songs, you should have gone to the show at the Rose Garden. I'm here to play blues. If you don't like it, get the fuck out. And if somebody were to just play me that show, I would say that band has rehearsed that set over and over and over again. If you weren't there to see Prince while they're playing, he's calling out what key he's going to be in. I'm going to be in C.
They like throwing hand signal chord signs like A or C.
Keep up, everybody. And they did. That was the most incredible performance from a band I've ever seen, period. I am so thankful I kept this ticket stub. It just reminds me that it was real. I wasn't just fabricating that memory. Books, CDs, cassettes, 8-tracks, reel-to-reels, laser discs, anything with music on it, music related, I can't pass it up. If it's cheap, I'm buying it. And once I buy it, I can't sell it. It's just the way I am. Being a collector of vintage stereo equipment or vinyl records, CDs, any of that kind of thing, it's not something you can talk somebody into. Either the nostalgia means something to you or it just doesn't, and there's no right or wrong either way. I think we all have different ways of retaining memories or remembering somebody or something important in your life. And for me, it just happens to be records and stereo equipment. And so while at the beginning of the week I was questioning myself, I was wondering, was this just a waste of time? Have I been paying for this storage space, keeping all this equipment for no reason at all? And later realizing I am so glad I kept everything I've got. I don't care about the monetary value of it. The story associated with them is worth more than anything else. I know a lot of you feel this way as well because I've talked to you. You've come into the shop and talked about these exact same experiences that I'm talking about. But do put those in the comments. Share your stories. It's important. It's what it's all about. I really appreciate you watching this video. Hopefully I didn't bum anybody out. And if you like this video, you should definitely watch this one.